How's it going, everybody? It's me, the Runescape Historian, back with another video. I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons. As usual, they help me with everything from Discord to just giving me video ideas and generally just being helpful and good people. If you want to join the Discord and join a good community of over 150 people that like to nerd out about RuneScape history, I've included the Discord link in the description below. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So starting off, I'm going to tell you about these bots from a player perspective. If I try and tell you about them from a botting perspective, or let's say a scripter, if you want to call them that, perspective, I would sound like a complete and total idiot because guess what? I wouldn't know what the hell I'm talking about. I tried researching like the botting aspect of it for a few hours, handful of hours actually, multiple nights. And I can wrap my head around some things, but I can't articulate it 100%. And while I do sound like an idiot most of the time, I'm used to it, I don't like sounding like an extreme idiot that really doesn't know what they're talking about. So it's going to be from a player's perspective. Ever since RuneScape's inception, they've been constantly battling botters. Bots have advanced so much to the point where today in 2021 they can do most, if not all, of the in-game content. They can do Theater of Blood, they can do Chambers of Xeric. There's a plethora of things these bots can do, and there's very few things they cannot do effectively. It has gotten to the point where it's kind of scary and kind of annoying to deal with, probably even more annoying to deal with if you're Jagex. But I think, on that note, it would be nice to look at a bot that came out between 2004 to 2006 that was very simplistic in nature, and you could also call it dumb. We're going to take a look at one of the dumbest bots to ever grace RuneScape. And by dumb, I know there's a lot of other color bots, but we're going to look at one very specific color bot that was very prominent from 2004 to probably 2007. There's variants also used today. During my research, I found they make up less than 10% of the current botting population because they are so easily detectable. So as many of y'all know, RS2 originated in 2004 with virtually all of its content, not all, but most, coming from RuneScape Classic. One such piece of content that will be covered today is the Sears Village Flax fields in particular. Flax prices nowadays, let's face it, they're very laughable. They're 1 to 2 GP each, roughly. That's just an estimate. Pretty sure that's accurate though. Back around RS2's inception, Flax could easily sell for 100 GP or even more on some days. This made the process of picking Flax in a game where there's very limited money makers for something so easy. You make 100 GP each and sometimes upwards of 150 GP each very early on and on very specific days. That was more rare to find. The typical price was 100, 110, sometimes 120 GP each. Not too far behind lobsters, especially when you consider the picking speed of Flax. It was probably faster money per hour. Well, it was definitely faster money per hour because lobsters are caught pretty slow, whereas Flax, you're guaranteed that one every time you click. So due to this reason, around RS2's golden years, if you want to call them that, Flax saw immense popularity and sometimes was even used as its own currency. If you bought a Dragon Longsword, most players would just take 1k Flax, for example, because it was just so reliably within that 90 to 110 GP range. But this popularity did not go unnoticed. The botting community quickly went to work creating a bot specifically for Flax picking purposes. Now, the botting community in 2004 was fairly young but experienced, so creating a bot for this purpose was fairly simple due to the easy nature of collecting Flax. You just click it, goes in the inventory, you walk to the bank, and so on. Oh, did you guys just see that? Zoom into that for me real quick. This poor bot has gone and lost all of his damn hair. And while there's nothing wrong with being bald, Stone Cold Steve Austin has been doing it successfully for years, you guys really should look into protecting what is yours. And you should do this as soon as possible. Let me explain why. 67% of all males experience male pattern baldness by age 35. Luckily for us, in the modern day, there are options available. Allow me to introduce you to today's video sponsor. I'm talking, of course, about Keeps, with more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors from verified buyers. Take a look at some of the amazing before and after photos after only a handful of months of using Keeps. With treatment from home, doctor-recommended hair loss treatment plans designed just for you, and doctor access 24/7 via the messaging system, there's no reason to not try Keeps. In addition, it is extremely affordable, and you can also receive 50% off your first order. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/RSH or click the link in the description to receive 50% off your first order. That's KEEPS.com/RSH. Huge thanks again to Keeps for sponsoring this video. And you have to also think, before 2004, RSC botting, RuneScape Classic, was starting to become more and more prevalent. So they had a little bit of experience. Granted, RS2 was on a totally different engine and was a little bit more advanced, but it's not like they came into this with very little knowledge. So pretty quickly, a Flax picker bot was created. As previously mentioned, this is one of the most simplistic and dumbest bots in RuneScape. The early iterations of the Flax bot relied completely on color. Flax has the cyan, and I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, as the cyan tip with a dark green base. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on which side you were on, there are certain robes and hair color combinations. You didn't need the hair color, by the way, but some players did it anyways to emulate the Flax tip, because on RuneScape, a lot of the colors were reused. Still to this day, granted, I'll touch on that later, how they're altered just a little bit. But for example, the Fremnik green robes mimicked the Flax stem color, and that allowed players to mess with the bots. And by mess with them, what I mean is they would stand just within the clicking range of the Flax fields, so just where the bot could see them and they were able to be clicked, they would click the player, and they're not Flax, but they would attempt to pick the player because they were the same color as Flax. And the player, conveniently, there was giant bats near the Flax field as well, level 27, and they would click the player and the player would move, 2 to 3 tiles, not getting too far ahead. That way the bot could effectively see them and click, because you have to think in the Flax fields, the Flax is only, 2-3 squares apart max. They would only go 2 to 3 squares away from the bot, allowing them to continue to see them and slowly do the process of going over to the giant bat. And the giant bat would get on the level 3 botter, kill them, they would drop Flax, everyone would cheer, and the player would usually let the Flax disappear, or some players even use this as a more fun method of collecting Flax, albeit slower but more entertaining. As the years went on, bots became more and more advanced and color bots were phased out. This was typically due to Jagex doing very subtle things like color changes. So the Flax, for example, it's that green color. They would very slightly alter the color code to where to a normal player like me or you, that color change would not be visible, but to a program that used pinpoint color accuracy was thrown off until they got it fixed again, and then Jagex would just alter it again randomly. This, combined with the easy detectability of the color bots, led to their downfall ultimately. These bots saw a return, Flax bots anyway, not specifically color bots, although I'm sure some of them were color bots, saw a return in 2013 with the old school RuneScape release. Now these bots were more complex than the color bots of 2006, from what I gather. They would be programmed, some of them would be programmed to take breaks just like a normal player. They could set random breaks between every hour and 30 minutes, for example. They could set random intervals if they wanted to. So they were way more advanced, a little harder to detect, but ultimately they became detectable by Jagex as well. And that, combined with the Flax prices falling ultimately in the years following 2013 down to 30 GP and then finally down to what we see today, 2 GP-ish, it became pretty much worthless to bot Flax. And that's pretty much it. Less than 10% of all bots today that you see in game are a variant of color bots. They are more advanced and use tactics such as reflection and injection. Typically, this makes them much harder to detect by Jagex. But to make a long story short, almost all color bots are pretty much phased out by today's standards. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. And just as a little closing note, I know that Flax bots were not the only type of color bot. There were ones that detected certain trees. There were multiple types of color bots. I just chose to focus on the Flax bots because they are iconic. But guys, that's about it for me. I'm about to head out. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Be sure to check out the sponsor Keeps in the description below. If you support the channel and need a product such as that, you can support the sponsors that support me and allow me to continue doing this, because God knows YouTube doesn't pay enough. All right.